came here in like, I don't know, 8 years. So at the horse camp, we memorized some verses, and I wanted to teach them to you this morning. I don't have a video to go with the teaching of the verse, but I do have a song. So, here we go. It's that verse. I will instruct you and teach you in the way you should go. I will guide you with my eye. Do not be like the horse or like the mule, which have no understanding, which must be harnessed with bit and bridle, else they will not come near you. I will instruct you and teach you in the way you should go. I will guide you with my eye. Do not be like the horse or like the mule, which have no understanding, which must be harnessed with bit and bridle, else they will not come near you. And more on that later. We'll talk about that verse a little bit as we progress this morning. But before we do, I wanted to show you some pictures from recent past here at there at Kansas Bible Camp. And I'm pushing the button, but nothing is happening. Did you ever have that where you push the button and then nothing happens? And then all of a sudden it happens all at once. You're like, whoops. So we had, of our summer schedule, what happened for us was we needed to reschedule because when the governor closed down the state and then gave us the reopening plans, summer camps were specifically excluded from the reopening until a certain date. And so we had actually reshuffled our summer once already because of COVID, and so then we so it was our third schedule. Actually had 7 weeks of our 10 weeks. We were actually able to have 7 of the 10 weeks occur, and once we started into camps for the summer, it always was a question mark. We knew that every day could be our last. So that actually wasn't a bad exercise. It was kind of a little bit of anxiety, right, involved in that. But just living each day like it's your last, that's kind of a good way to live. But this summer, I know that every day is a gift. This summer, every day felt like a gift because you get up in the morning and you say, thanks, Lord, for another day. Get to do camp another day. And by His provision and His grace and His mercy and His compassion, we made it all the way through the summer, and we got to have every week that we had on that third schedule. This was one of the weeks. Art Manning is not the man pictured. He was the speaker that week, and he was having different guest speakers from all over the world. He had missionary contacts in different countries, but this missionary was scheduled to be interviewed, but was actually on his way from Dubuque, Iowa, to somewhere in Texas. And he said it's not any major town in Texas, it's kind of out in the middle of nowhere. And so what I found out, I used to think that Kansas Bible Camp wasn't on the way to anywhere. But what I found out this summer is if you're going nowhere, KBC is halfway. And so Micah Tuttle shared with the high schoolers about his time in the jungles of Peru. I was ready to go with him. I'm like, hey, you're going on like a short-term mission trip. Sign me up. Let's go. Like, I'm traveling through, hiking around in river basins. It just looked amazing. It was so, and Micah's passionate about the gospel. So it was really fun. I had never met him in person. He was one of those Facebook friends that I didn't really, I hadn't actually met him, but we knew each other, knew similar friends. So it was really fun for me to get to meet Micah and for him to speak. Another thing that happened that week was a movie night in the pool, but before you have the movie night, of course, you have the games. And there was this was the shorter of the two ladders. What I love about this picture is all these unveiled faces, just looking up and just ecstatic. They're like, yes, you made it. And I just love that about that shot. I mean, it's cool that he's on the top of the ladder, But like, look at everybody's faces. Like this guy right here. It's just like everybody's excited that he made it to the top of the ladder. So kind of fun, very joyful event. And then this is there are lifeguards on duty. That's my daughter Rachel, and there's this is Mr. Manning right here, our speaker for the week. He's there as well. But that was a night. We had a movie night. We watched E-Tao. It's a missionary film, really good. You can get it online, but so encouraging, this account of a man who went and brought the gospel to this unreached people group and started just very basic with pictures and like walked through the whole story of the gospel. And it was like a mass conversion at the end of the story as he's expressing, just explaining what Jesus had done for them. So just a really powerful film. It's like 20 minutes long. You could watch it this afternoon. Really cool story. But we show that to the campers, and then we watched a few others as well. A few other shorter films. You might wonder why this guy has the soccer ball in his hand. Well, it's because we're playing plunger ball on the soccer field. The plunger is right here underneath the dodgeball, and you try to knock it off with the soccer ball. So that's a game that my brother-in-law brought to the camp, John Belson, and we really enjoy it. And played this summer. Here's a familiar face. Ann Denny still directs our junior high girls camps and our high school girls camps at the East Campus. And this would be a matter of prayer. Ann Denny, certainly, you could pray for her at her work at the Emmanuel Mission as she's overseeing. They're not in person right now, so overseeing that work. And there's aspects of it that are encouraging. They get to give the gospel to these students, and their parents have to kind of be there to get them set up online. And so there is that sense in which their work is extending into the community, but sad that they can't be in person. So you could certainly pray for Ann, but you could also pray for this space where we hold the girls' camps. There are some significant improvements that we're looking to make. Discussions I had this week ranged from talking to our county planner, and in the course of that discussion, finding out that we need to have a flood permit, track with me on this, to put a roof on that building. And the reason that it's connected is that it's actually not a county rule, it's not a state rule, it's a FEMA rule that any improvement that costs more than 50% of the value of the building, which a new roof would cost, no matter how we slice it, I don't know how we could get it less than 50% of the value of the building. You need to bring all of the building up to current FEMA standards in order to complete the repair. So it's called a significant improvement, a substantial improvement, substantial damage rule. But what's so funny about it is that to do that, this floor would actually need to be somewhere in the range of 4 to 5 feet higher than it is. That's just where the floodplain, in the new maps, it's how it's drawn. So that's just a big question mark right now. You might say, well, how's that going to work? We don't know. But you can pray for it, like pray for us as we kind of chase that down, because what we want to not lose is this, like the girls' camps we want to preserve. And it's not, we're not at the point where it's like, well, we have to shut the building down, so no more girls' camps. But we want to preserve the work there, and so we're trying to take steps to do that. Preserve that work that's done, and whether it's in this building or we have other options, we have a committee that's working on it. So just pray for the Lord's leading and for His provision, for His guidance. And I feel like He's given us really good resources. The guy in the county that I talked to, our county planner, I feel like is very much a rule reader, but a real nice guy. He's spent hours with me, just very generous with his time, and is able to say, well, yeah, the code says this. And then the guy at the state that I'm in contact with, the Kansas Department of Agriculture guy, he's very much an idea person. And so that's fun too, because we get to kind of he gave me like 7 different or 8 different options for this building, including just, raise the whole building up. And I guess they actually do that on the East Coast. There's no company in Kansas that does that would raise a building on a slab up, 5 feet or something. But so that's not a feasible option, but an option nonetheless. So idea people, that's a real bonus right now as we're trying to kind of dream through this. But that's a prayer request related to that work, but had a great summer down there at the East Campus. I feel like we might have canceled one girls' camp. Is that right, Rachel? Do you know?
It was when they combined the 2 weeks into.
Oh, at the end, right? Yeah, when we did the staff week. Is that what you're saying? Yeah. So there was one girls' camp that just got combined with another one, but the rest did happen this summer. We had to cancel family camp at the main campus, and then a grade school camp and our high school 2 camp as well. Those were the ones that went. But Gaga Ball still is a real popular thing. One of our activities. Now the grade school campers, they do their calisthenics each day, and you might not know what these are. They're fingertip push-ups. So that's on the concrete slab that was put up just before summer. I want to tell you a little bit more about that here in a second. Lots of smiling faces. Those are camp residents. This is my niece Olivia, and then our neighbor Lucy Fisher. There are five camp families now. John and Mary Denny. John's our director, and Mary's the camp cook. And then Ben and Bonnie Bailey are at the camp as well, and they have 5 children. The Ben and Caroline Fisher family are also there, and both Ben's work in maintenance, and Ben and Caroline have 4 children. And then Nathaniel Hawkinson, my brother, and his wife Larissa came on in the spring, and they are there as well in the staff director role. They both cooperate to do that, along with John's son Alan and Amber Denny in the summer. Alan manages the hardware store here, helps Phil with the hardware store, Phil and Susan, during the 9 months, but then they gave him the summer to come and be at the camp, which is a huge blessing to us, and I'm sure no small cost to them, because I know Alan is. He's just really useful. So glad to have Alan and Amber there in the summer, but that's not part of the 5 that I was saying. They'd be a bonus because they get to be there in the summer. But it's John Denny, Ben Bailey's family, Ben Fisher's family, my brother Nathaniel and his family, and then our family. And so among us, we had 15, and then with Nathaniel's family, it's 3 more. There's 18 kids that live right there on site. And so we have pretty much a whole dorm. We'd have to split them up, boys and girls. But we have a bunch of kids right there. And that's a real fun thing, a real fun dynamic. My kids are, we get to the end of the school day, and they say, okay, can I go play with my friends? Okay, yeah, you can go play with your friends. So that's really a fun bonus of being there. Our themes for the summer's grade school camps it was a Wild West theme, and Pioneers of Kansas is what it was called. And this is actually, as far as we know, Rick Cole's last summer with us as our speaker. He's been the only grade school speaker for like 10 years, I think. And so it's been a great ride. Very glad for his help in that. He's very interested in being involved at the camp, but just not looking to be the grade school speaker next year. So that's another prayer request. We can ask you to pray with us for someone to speak to grade school campers. These are people that I got to work with this summer. The one on the right, or your left, is Luke Springer. He's involved in student ministry to students at Emmaus Bible College. He's one of their residence directors. Sorry, title's escaping me. But he was able to be there for a week this summer, and he helped my sister-in-law Larissa. She's the one on my left. You're right. Direct the high school camp, and that was really fun. Our high school one. It was really fun to work with him. Luke is somebody that I got to see come up from when he was just a small child. He started working at the camp, and he is immensely useful to Emmaus. They actually had him come back early because they were working on plans to implement in-person classes at Emmaus. They're on site, and so trying to work through all that, and they needed his help on that. He didn't go back early from the week of camp. He was there all week, but he just had less of a summer than he planned on because he needed to be back to help the school with that. He's working on a master's degree at Wheaton, remote learning. And then my sister-in-law, Larissa, it's just so fun to have her there on staff. She does a lot of things related to the camp work, a lot of the communication. She drew up our COVID strategy that we submitted to the county, and they said, yes, that sounds good. Actually, they kind of felt, it came across kind of apologetically, oh yeah, sorry you had to worry about that. Yeah, this is great, sure, go for it. So that was a real relief as we're heading into our summer, knowing that we wanted to be on good terms with our county. So really enjoy working with them and the others that I get to work with as well. And this slab, I told you we'd come back to it. This is some people thought we should call it the Slabernacle. I thought that was a good name for it. But it's going to be a pavilion. It's the concrete slab that's going to have 4 metal girders, put up over it. So it'll have 8 points where it touches the ground, and then just a roof over it. So no walls. But like a picnic pavilion is what we built it as. And the reason we wanted this in place before summer started is we knew we needed to have space for people to gather that then could be distant and also outdoors. We have a gymnasium that we ended up using for our chapel meetings. We didn't know if we'd be able to use it for that or not. That's what we ended up doing, was using the gymnasium for that. And we used this for calisthenics. We used it for parties. We used it, kids would use it like a playground. They had skateboards, so like longboards and skateboards, and we had little wiggle cars. I don't know if you've seen those, like you see in a driveway, that kids would play on, and then have some big tricycles that we bought years ago. We used those for games and stuff. So it really was, and the 9 square in the air, and then these benches around, we had those there as well. It was really a very memorable part of the summer was this new chunk of concrete. To get that there, the process was an illustration to me of God's provision for us, and that God obviously did this thing. I saw God's power in it. And so I'll just tell you just a little bit about that. We're looking towards our summer. This is end of May. And as we think towards the summer, we were thinking, well, we need to have more outdoor gathering spaces. We could just use the picnic area, because this has been a picnic area for years. Just use picnic tables and kind of gather there for meals, eat outdoors, just brainstorming, trying to figure out what we could do. And as we kind of thought through different options, we thought, well, what if it was, it's always wet there. If it rained on Wednesday, it'd still be wet for our Friday, picnic, where people come and pick up their kids. And so we thought, well, what if we put just poured concrete there? And then we thought this idea of a pavilion, if we're going to pour concrete pad anyway. And so we talked to a local contractor, Richardson Brothers. They put up metal buildings all over Kansas, and they said yes, we could do that. But because it's in a floodplain, you remember this from earlier this morning, we were talking about how we need to actually have approval. And so we talked to the county planner, Mark Vonachin. He said, you need to talk to the state. You get good with the state and then come to me. The permit here takes a day or two, we'll have it set. So I contacted the state. There are 7 different state agencies that need to comment on plans to improve a floodplain and or to make an improvement in the floodplain to build a building. And the first person I contacted, what her job is to send it to those 7 agencies. She's with the Kansas Department of Agriculture. And I said to her, so I understand this is a month-long process. She said, yeah, it's actually state law. You have to leave a month for them to be able to comment on these new plans. It's not, there's no flexibility in that. So I hear that. Is there a way, I'm not asking for you to go around the law, but is there any way to expedite the process at all? Because we're talking about starting camp like in 3 weeks. So we don't have a month to wait. And she said, well, when you send me the plans, or your plans, what you're planning to do in the application, you should also email these 2 agencies because they typically take the longest to get back with me, and I will move the approval through as soon as I hear back from those 2 agencies. And the others would have already gotten back. She was still doing the process, but she was just telling me, these are the people you need to reach out to. So I did, put in phone calls, had a wrong number, I think, for the first one a couple times, but heard back from one of them within 2 business days. I contacted them Friday. We had the paperwork in hand Monday. And then the other had it in hand, I think, by the end of the week. Within 10 days, we had the permit. We were set to go. And so all of that is happening against the backdrop of trying to schedule with contractors, and there was a local guy that needed to, they could do the dirt work, and so we got that kind of lined out to start. And Wednesday before our leadership camp, they poured the slab, and it was ready to go by that week. And so really an illustration to me of God's provision for us. Couldn't be more clear to me that God worked in that. And they were trying to give it special consideration because of COVID. They knew it was part of our plan to try to have camps, and so they worked with us. I really appreciated the work of the different agencies that I was in contact with. But that was that concrete to me is a picture of God's blessing and of His provision. And yes, it's just a piece of concrete, but also to me it's a little bit more. I don't want to make more of it than it is. It's because of who God is that I wanted to mention that to you as something I'm thankful to Him for. So I think there's a couple more pictures and then a song. There it is. The last 2 weeks of the summer, our county had initially said we're not going to require masks. The last 2 weeks of the summer, they said we're going to rescind their ban on the governor's order. They said essentially we're going to require masks in Reno County. And so the campers did put masks on, and we had the last 2 weeks that way, and it worked out just fine. It was uncomfortable, don't have to tell you that. Not fun to have to worry about that and have to think, okay, got to remember your mask. And yet, it was something that, what it made me think of was when Paul was going to take Timothy with him to share the gospel, he had him circumcised. And I just think, if I had a choice of things to do in order to preach the gospel, I think I'd pick the mask. And so it's what we're about. Like this is, if you wear it at work, well then you have to do it to be at work. If you wear it at school, kids don't have any choice. They have to do it to be at school. And it's unfortunate because it's like, you get to wear a mask and guess what? Then you can be at school. But for us, it's, we get to share the gospel with campers. You bet. Sign me up. And so because that was the dynamic, it was a little bit easier sell to me anyway, because that's what I get out of it. I get to be around campers and actually get to share the gospel with them. And so anyhow, that was the last 2 weeks of the summer is when it was implemented for us. And we still have that for our groups that we are responsible for. We ask people to have to wear masks, and if they can't, be socially distant. I see that you guys have guidelines in place, and you're trying to be aware of that too. And I think it's something, I want just a real brief observation, is that as people, we're always looking at others and thinking, are they like me, are they different? It's just part of what we do. That person's like me, that person's not. And what masks can do is they're symbols. They're more than that. Depending on who you talk to, they're better than that or worse than that. But they're symbols, and one thing they can be a symbol of is that person is like me. So I want to encourage them. It can be a symbol of that person's different than me. And what I want my response to be is whether it's like me or not like me. I don't have a lot of experience being a marginalized person. I grew up as a white Anglo-Saxon male Protestant. Like, you don't get much more vanilla than that, in our context in central Kansas. And so I don't know what it's like to be the weird guy, to be the oddball, to be the one that sticks out like a sore thumb. And I feel like that could be taken as demeaning. I don't mean it that way. I'm just trying to say I don't have a lot of experience that way. And so it's pretty uncomfortable to be the only guy wearing a mask in a room and everybody else isn't. Or to be the only person not wearing a mask and everyone is. That can be uncomfortable. And what I would love for my response to be is, it doesn't matter whether you're wearing it or not. I'm doing what I'm doing to the glory of God. And I assume that you're doing that too. And I'm not your master. To your own master, you're going to stand or fall. And he's able to make you stand. He's able to make me stand. And so not to get hung up on that, but to leave people room to do what they understand to be best. And at the same time, not make it something where everybody does that which is right in his own eyes, because that didn't work out real well for the people in Judges. All right, so, yeah.
Give them like 2 minutes of how the Lord blessed financially as well.
Okay, I can tell that. Yeah, the Lord gave us through a trust. So there's a couple that passed away, didn't have any kids, gave their inheritance, as it were, to us and other organizations. There's also a few other gifts that came in. We have on hand hundreds of thousands of dollars that we are able to then use for the work at KBC. I do want to tell you there's one story that was especially significant because of how it was done. There was a church that actually dissolved in Wichita. Hope Church is the name of it. You might have heard of it. They used an old school building as their meeting place. And what they did was they came to the camp to give the gift of the price of the building. They sold their building, came to the camp and said, we want this to be used for camper scholarships. And it was a significant gift. And we said, well, we're so glad to receive that from you. But in the course of the gift, that kind of ceremony, these are people that don't meet together anymore because their church, disbanded. But they love each other, and they were telling, these are ways that our walk with Jesus that intersects Kansas Bible Camp. And so they told about how this was so meaningful for our young people, and I was glad to hear them. They came back and they wanted to tell us about what they learned at KBC, and I just got to see the growth. And so it was just so encouraging for these people. They had this chunk of money. What do we do? Well, we want to specifically designate this to camper scholarships. That's what we want this to be used for, and we're so glad to have that. Something that's on our heart too, to be able to offer the gospel free of charge to the young people that come. So yeah, thank you. It's something, it's tricky because you can say too much about money, you can say too little about it. We do have quite a bit on hand right now. We have a lot of plans, things that we would like to see done. I mentioned the East Campus. There's also building projects at the main camp, significant improvements, and then replacing some buildings. So all of that, we're trying to figure out what's the next, what do we do next? But very glad to have on hand. I told John when it happened, I was like, I've never been the guy with the 10 minus. I don't know how this works. so pretty fun though, and glad for the provision of the Lord. So let's sing this one more time. I'll sing it once, and then I want to tell you just a few things about it, and then we'll wrap up. I will instruct you and teach you in the way you should go. I will guide you with my eye. Do not be like the horse or like the mule, which have no understanding, which must be harnessed with bit and bridle, else they will not come near you. So the Lord is looking to lead. At that horse camp that Joel and I went to, there was an activity that we did where you got in the ring with the horse, and you actually, as you watched the horse, the horse was watching you, you actually could make the horse stop just by body language. Like you're just as you're watching, and it's called linking up with the horse, and you can kind of look down, and they'll stop, and then come into you. And once you've linked up with the horse, then you can send it around. You can get it to go faster, get it to go slower. It's amazing. If you've never seen it before, I'm sure you can find videos on on YouTube, but it's amazing to watch this connection between the horse and the master. And that's what I feel like is in view here, this idea of, I will instruct you and teach you in the way you should go. I will guide you with my eye. And you can imagine, yes, we had bits and bridles with the horses that we were working with. When I was on the horse, it was amazing to me. One of the things that stuck out as I was working with the horse was how bad I was at being consistent with the signal that I was given, because the horse knows what it's supposed to do, and the horse knows what pressure on the right flank is supposed to mean. And I actually found out I was giving the opposite signal. I would do one thing with the reins, and I'd do the wrong thing with the opposite thing from what I should have done with my feet. And so I'm giving the horse mixed signals, and then I'm frustrated because it's not doing what it's supposed to do. And I'm so glad that our Father's not like that. He doesn't give us mixed signals. He doesn't get messed up. And he's able to guide us just even with his eye. I think of it with a father and a child, and you look at the child, and the child's looking expectantly to the father. Then, like if somebody comes and says, "Hey, can I have a piece of candy?" Or "Can I give your kid a piece of candy?" Because they're being thoughtful and not just giving sugar to your child without permission. They say, "May I give your child a piece of candy?" And you can just everybody do this real quick. Just do what the little kid would do to me, to the dad. What would they do? And all it takes is just a look. Doesn't even take a word. It's like, yeah, you bet. Just a look, because they're so keyed in. They're looking for you to lead. And the Father is looking to lead. He's looking to lead us and to guide us. And he doesn't want it to be like it is for the horse, which doesn't have understanding. They have to harness with a bit and bridle. They don't even come near you. They just spook and they run away. No, it shouldn't be like that. No, come on in, come close, and let me lead you with my eye. Let me guide you with my eye. That's the type of relationship the Father wants with you, is a close one, where he can guide you with his eye. So let's sing this one more time. Those of you you probably don't remember Roy Rogers, but he had like Happy Trails, the same kind of beat as Happy Trails. So you can kind of hoof beats with your hands as we yeah, there you go, like that, yeah. I will instruct you and teach you in the way you should go. I will guide you with my eye. Do not be like the horse or like the mule, which have no understanding, which must be harnessed with bit and bridle, else they will not come near you. I will instruct you and teach you in the way you should go. I will guide you with my eye. Do not be like the horse or like the mule, which have no understanding, which must be harnessed with bit and bridle, else they will not come near you. Would you pray with me? Father in heaven, we're so thankful that you are looking to lead us. You want to guide us, and we pray that you would help us to be more interested in that than we have been. You certainly are as interested in it as you can be. You don't need to grow in your willingness to lead, Father, but I know I need to grow in my willingness to follow. And so I pray that you would do that in us, that you would unite our hearts to fear your name, that we would be seeking to follow your leading. I thank you for the saints here at Westside. Just such an encouragement to be with brothers and sisters who are seeking to live for you, who want to know you, who want to live for you and to serve you. I pray that you would encourage them in that you would strengthen them for that service, and that you continue leading them on, I pray. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen.